The sound of laughter still echoes in my nightmares, but it wasn't joyful. It was a cruel mocking sound, rising from a crowd of people who watched my 6-year-old daughter fall to the ground, bloodied and heartbroken, after her own aunt threw a gift straight into her innocent face. That day everything changed. It had started 3 weeks earlier. A burgundy invitation sitting on my kitchen counter like a ticking time bomb. My younger sister, Rachel, was turning 21, and my parents were throwing her an elaborate bash at the Grandview estate, the kind of event that read like a social register. I held that fancy gold-embossed card, a knot tightening in my stomach. Just then my daughter, Lily, wandered into the kitchen. Her small hands clutched a handmade bracelet, a colorful tangled masterpiece she'd been working on for a month. "Is that for Aunt Rachel's party?" she asked, her eyes wide with hope. I nodded, watching her face light up. Lily adored Rachel, even though she barely saw her. In my daughter's eyes, Rachel was glamorous, exciting. Someone who smelled of expensive perfume and wore beautiful dresses. Lily didn't understand the complex, often painful, dynamic between Rachel and me. She didn't know that Rachel had mostly ignored her since birth. "I finished her present," Lily announced, holding it up. "Do you think she'll love it?" The threads were uneven, the pattern inconsistent, but the love woven into every knot was undeniable. She'd spent every evening after dinner, tongue poking out in fierce concentration, determined to make something perfect for her aunt. "I think it's wonderful," I said, and I truly meant it. The truth was far more complicated than Lily could ever grasp. For 3 years, I'd been bankrolling Rachel's entire life. Ever since I sold my tech startup for an amount that fundamentally altered my world, my parents had been quick to remind me of my baby sister's needs. Stanford wasn't cheap, they'd said. Surely I could spare a little for her education. A little quickly spiraled into full tuition, room and board, a generous monthly allowance, and eventually a brand new BMW for her 20th birthday because, as my mother put it, everyone at Stanford has a nice car. I'd written the checks without a word, remembering my own struggles, working 3 jobs to put myself through state college while Rachel was still in elementary school. Just the week before the party, I transferred another $8,000 for her fall semester textbooks and fees. The same week, Rachel had posted Instagram photos from Cabo with her sorority sisters. I'd learned not to ask questions. My parents insisted Rachel deserved to enjoy her youth, that she worked hard and earned her occasional vacations. Saturday arrived, warm and clear. I dressed Lily in her favorite purple dress, the one with embroidered flowers, and she clutched her carefully wrapped present all the way to the Grandview estate, chattering excitedly about seeing Aunt Rachel. The venue was spectacular, a sprawling display of white tints and string quartets, a testament to my parents' extravagant tastes, and their expectation that I'd reimburse them for half the cost. Rachel stood near the entrance, radiant in a designer dress that cost more than most people's monthly rent, surrounded by her college friends. She looked beautiful and she knew it, tossing her highlighted hair, basking in the attention. "There she is," Lily squealed, practically dragging me across the manicured lawn. We pushed through the crowd, past polite nods from relatives who always viewed me as the serious older sister, the one who worked too much. My Aunt Pamela, ever the critic, stood by the gift table, her expression pinched. She'd never forgiven me for refusing to fund her son's transparent pyramid scheme. Lily bounced on her toes until Rachel finally turned our way. My daughter rushed forward, arms outstretched for a hug. Rachel accepted it stiffly, like tolerating an overly affectionate pet. Her friends watched, whispering, amused. "Happy birthday, Aunt Rachel." Lily's voice rang out, clear and joyful. She thrust the present forward. "I made you something special." Rachel took the package, her perfectly manicured nails catching the sun. The group around her went silent, and I felt a shift in the air, a prickle of unease. Rachel's smile took on a sharp, predatory edge as she tore through the butterfly-patterned paper Lily had chosen. The bracelet tumbled into Rachel's palm. In the afternoon light, it was exactly what it was: a child's craft project, made with love but undeniably without skill. The threads were uneven, the colors clashing, the clasp a little crooked. Then Rachel's voice cut through the air, loud enough to silence nearby conversations. "What is this cheap junk? Filthy trash." Laughter erupted from her friends. Sharp, cruel laughter that seemed to multiply as more people turned to stare. My daughter stood frozen, her radiant smile slowly fading into confusion. Rachel. I started, my voice slow, a warning. That's not. But my sister wasn't finished. She held the bracelet between two fingers, as if it might contaminate her. Her face twisted with exaggerated disgust. Did you actually think I would wear this? What am I, 5 years old? More laughter. Someone pulled out a phone, probably recording. I could already imagine it on social media. Then she threw it. Not handed it back, not set it down, but threw it. Directly at Lily's face. The bracelet hit my daughter's cheek with enough force to snap her head back. Lily stumbled, her foot catching on her dress, and went down hard on the decorative gravel path. The sound of her body hitting the ground seemed impossibly loud. Blood appeared immediately, running from her nose where the clasp had caught her. Gravel dug into her palms where she tried to catch herself. Her knee was scraped raw, already swelling. Lily's scream cut through the laughter like a blade. I was moving before conscious thought, dropping to my knees beside her. Blood stained her purple dress, dripped onto the white gravel. Her face was a mess of tears and dirt and blood. Her mouth open in a raw cry that came from genuine pain and shock. She's just a child. I shouted, gathering Lily into my arms. She's 6 years old. My parents appeared from somewhere near the main tent. My father's face was the familiar shade of red that meant his temper was boiling. My mother looked annoyed, as if we'd interrupted something important. So is our daughter, my father boomed across the lawn, his voice shocking in its disdain. Next time, tell her to give something worthy of her. Now get lost. My mother nodded sharply. You're making a scene, Catherine. This is Rachel's day, and you're ruining it with your dramatics. Aunt Pamela pushed forward, her expression triumphant. Some people just raise their kids wrong, teaching her to give cheap trash to people. Embarrassing. The words seemed to come from far away. I was focused on Lily's face, on the blood and tears, on the way she was trying to be brave, even though I could feel her shaking against me. Around us, guests murmured, some looking uncomfortable, but no one stepped forward to help or object. Rachel stood with her arms crossed, that bratty pout on her face my parents always found adorable. The same look she'd worn at 12 when she broke my laptop and refused to apologize because it was old anyway. The same look at 16 when she wrecked my car and blamed me for lending it to her in the first place. Something inside me snapped. A cold, quiet resolve settled deep in my bones. I stood up carefully, Lily clutched against my chest. Blood from her nose was staining my shirt, but I didn't care. I walked past my parents, past the crowd of shocked guests, directly to Rachel. My sister's smile was smug. She thought she'd won some kind of victory, put me in my place in front of everyone who mattered to her. She was already turning back to her friends, ready to laugh about the drama. I smiled back at her. Not a friendly smile. The kind of smile you give someone when you're about to change their entire world. Rachel, I said, my voice perfectly calm. I need your car keys. She blinked. What? The BMW keys. Hand them over. Rachel laughed, incredulous. Are you serious right now? You're being ridiculous. It was just a stupid bracelet. The keys, I repeated. Something in my tone must have registered because the laughter died on her lips. She fumbled in her designer purse, probably thinking she'd humor me to make me leave faster. The keys landed in my palm with a satisfying weight. And just so you're aware, I continued, still in that same pleasant tone, I've stopped all payments for your college. Tuition, housing, allowance, everything. Consider our financial arrangement terminated effective immediately. The color drained from Rachel's face. You can't. I absolutely can. From now on, you're on your own. My parents pushed through the crowd, my father's face apoplectic. Catherine, you stop this right now. You can't cut off your sister over a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding? I shifted Lily in my arms. Her crying had quieted to hiccuping sobs, but blood still dripped from her nose. Your daughter threw something at my child's face hard enough to injure her. Then you told me to get lost when I objected. That's not a misunderstanding. That's a choice you all made. You're overreacting, my mother hissed. Rachel didn't mean any harm. Girls have tantrums sometimes. Rachel is 21 years old. She's not a girl having a tantrum. She's an adult who assaulted a 6-year-old child. Rachel laughed then, sharp and disbelieving. This is all a joke, right? You're trying to teach me some kind of lesson. Very funny, Catherine. You can drop the act now. But I was already walking away, Lily's face buried in my shoulder. Behind me, I could hear Rachel's voice rising in pitch, demanding someone tell her this wasn't real. My parents called after me, their words angry and commanding, expecting me to turn around and apologize for causing a scene. I didn't look back. If you're finding yourself as shocked as I was by all of this, maybe consider hitting that subscribe button. There are so many more incredible stories waiting to be told. The drive home was quiet except for Lily's sniffles. I cleaned her up as best I could in the Grandview Estates bathroom, but she needed proper first aid. Her cheek was already bruising where the bracelet had hit, an ugly purple spreading across her soft skin. Mommy, her voice was small. Does Aunt Rachel hate me? The question broke something inside my chest. No, baby. Aunt Rachel is just, she has a lot of growing up to do. Did I do something wrong? Absolutely not, I said, reaching over to squeeze her hand gently. You made something beautiful because you have a kind heart. That's never wrong. At home, I settled Lily on the couch with ice for her face and her favorite movie playing. Then I went to my office and opened my laptop. Before making any calls, I pulled up my financial records. The spreadsheet I'd been maintaining for 3 years told a stark story. Tuition payments totaling $147,000, monthly allowances of $2,000, plus additional transfers whenever Rachel claimed an emergency. The BMW purchase at $53,000, insurance, maintenance, parking permits, spring break trips I'd funded when she called crying about being the only one who couldn't afford to go. Designer clothes because she needed to fit in with her wealthy classmates. Even her sorority dues, which ran nearly $4,000 annually. Her off-campus apartment rent 3 times what a dorm would have cost, but Rachel insisted she needed her own space. The grand total made my stomach turn. Over $300,000 in less than 3 years. I'd handed over more than $250,000 to someone who had just assaulted my child and felt no remorse. My phone buzzed with a text from my mother. *, you embarrassed us today. Rachel is devastated. Call me immediately. *, I silenced the phone and returned to my laptop. The first call was to Stanford's financial aid office. The administrator who answered sounded bored until I explained what I needed. Yes, I confirmed. I will be withdrawing all financial support for Rachel Thompson effective immediately. No, there are no extenuating circumstances you need to be aware of. No, I will not be reconsidering. Miss Thompson, the administrator said, I should inform you that your sister will likely need to withdraw from the university if alternative funding cannot be secured quickly. We're already into the semester, and without payment, her enrollment status will be affected within 2 weeks. I understand, I replied. That's her situation to resolve. The second call was to my bank. I needed to stop all automatic transfers to Rachel's accounts, all of them. The monthly allowance, the emergency credit card I'd added her to as an authorized user, the separate account I'd set up for her living expenses. My bank representative tried to confirm the request multiple times, clearly concerned I was making a mistake. These are substantial recurring payments, he noted. Are you certain you want to cancel them all at once? Perhaps we could suspend them temporarily instead. Cancel them, I said firmly. And I'll need to close the joint account I established for her access. Transfer any remaining balance to my primary account. The third call was to my insurance company. Rachel was on my car insurance policy for the BMW I'd purchased and registered in my name. I needed her removed and the vehicle reported as no longer in authorized use. I'll also need the vehicle reported to Stanford campus parking as unauthorized. I told the insurance agent. She parks in a permit lot, and without valid insurance registered to that permit, they should ticket it and tow it. After the insurance call, I contacted the BMW dealership. Since the title was in my name, I explained that I needed to reclaim it, but the current driver would likely refuse to surrender it. They suggested I wait until it was impounded by campus parking. Then I could retrieve it from the impound lot with my title and registration. They'd be happy to take it on consignment once I had possession. Fair warning, the sales manager said. A year-old vehicle, even well-maintained, typically sells for about 70% of its purchase price, Maybe $35,000 to $40,000 for yours. Is that acceptable? It wasn't about the money anymore, but I appreciated his honesty. That's fine. Each call took longer than expected, filled with verification questions and warnings about the finality of my decisions. Every representative seemed convinced I was acting rashly, that I'd regret these choices. None of them asked why I was making these changes. They simply assumed a family dispute, something that would blow over in a few days. My phone started ringing before I'd finished the calls. Rachel first, then my mother, then my father, then Rachel again. I let every call go to voicemail. Between the phone calls, I checked on Lily. She'd fallen asleep on the couch, her face still swollen, dried blood at the corner of her nostril. Despite my cleaning efforts, the bruise was darkening steadily, spreading across her cheekbone in shades of purple and blue. I took photos with my phone, documenting the injury from multiple angles. Part of me wondered if I should file a police report, but I knew that would only escalate things with my family beyond repair. Still, I wanted evidence of what had happened. Proof that I hadn't overreacted or imagined the severity of what Rachel had done. I texted my best friend Nicole, who'd watched my relationship with Rachel deteriorate over the years. Asterisk finally cut her off. I'll explain later, but I need you to know I'm okay with whatever consequences come. Asterisk her response came immediately. Asterisk about damn time. Want me to come over tomorrow? Asterisk Lily needs quiet tonight. Back in my office, I drafted an email to my parents. I wrote it carefully, choosing each word with precision. No emotion, no accusations beyond simple facts. I detailed every payment I'd made over the past 3 years, attached the spreadsheet showing the total amount, and explained that their response to Lily's injury had made me realize I'd been enabling Rachel's worst behaviors rather than helping her grow. You taught her that other people exist to serve her needs, I wrote. Asterisk you taught her that charm and tears are substitutes for accountability. You taught her that she's exceptional, exempt from the rules that govern everyone else. But you forgot to teach her empathy, responsibility, or gratitude. I've been complicit in that failure by continuing to fund a lifestyle she hasn't earned. That ends now. Asterisk I didn't send the email immediately. Instead, I saved it as a draft and closed my laptop. Rachel's messages started out angry. Asterisk what the hell is wrong with you? This isn't funny anymore. Call me back right now. Asterisk then confused. Asterisk Catherine, seriously, I don't understand what's happening. Did I really upset you that much? Can we talk about this? Asterisk then panicked. Asterisk the school is saying my tuition payment didn't go through. My credit cards aren't working. Catherine, please, you have to fix this. I have bills due. Asterisk my parents' messages were predictably aggressive. I was being childish, cruel, unreasonable. How dare I punish Rachel over nothing? Did I want to ruin her future? They had raised me better than this. That last one almost made me laugh. They'd raised me to accept being treated as an ATM, to swallow every insult and slight because family was supposed to forgive everything. They'd raised me to believe my value was in what I could provide, not who I was. They hadn't raised Rachel with the same philosophy. She'd learned that beauty and tears would get her anything she wanted, that consequences were for other people, that anyone who objected to her behavior was the problem. Late Saturday night, after Lily had been asleep for hours, I finally listened to all the voicemails. 17 total. My father's were the most aggressive, demanding I call him back immediately to fix this mess I'd created. My mother alternated between guilt trips and threats, reminding me of every sacrifice they'd made for me as a child, questioning whether I'd always been this cold and heartless. Rachel's messages showed a clear progression. The first few were entitled and angry, insisting I was overreacting and needed to stop being dramatic. Then came bargaining. She'd apologize to Lily. She'd be more careful with money. She'd do whatever I wanted if I just turned everything back on. The most recent ones were desperate. Her voice thick with genuine panic as she realized I wasn't calling back. Asterisk Catherine, my rent is due in 3 days. I don't have it. I don't have any money at all. The school is threatening to drop me from all my classes. My car got towed from campus and they're saying I can't get it back. Please, you can't do this to me. I'm your sister. We're a family. Please call me back. Asterisk I saved all the voicemails, Documentation in case anyone later tried to claim I'd acted without warning or that Rachel hadn't understood the severity of her situation. Then I poured myself a glass of wine and sat in my darkened living room, processing what I'd done. There was no satisfaction in it, no triumphant feeling of revenge. Just a quiet certainty that I'd made the right choice, even if it was painful. I'd spent 3 years hoping Rachel would mature on her own, that my financial support would give her the freedom to discover responsibility. Instead, I'd created a monster who thought other people existed to serve her whims. The bruise on Lily's face was proof that my approach had failed catastrophically. Sunday morning brought my mother to my doorstep. I watched through the window as she rang the doorbell repeatedly, her face set in determined lines. Eventually she started pounding. "Catherine Marie Thompson, I know you're in there. Open this door right now." I stayed in the kitchen drinking my coffee. Lily was still asleep upstairs, exhausted from yesterday's trauma. The bruise on her face had darkened overnight, spreading from her cheekbone to her jaw. My mother's voice carried through the door. "You cannot do this to your sister. Do you know how humiliated she was at her own party? Everyone saw you make that scene." The irony was stunning. Rachel had humiliated my daughter, injured her in front of an audience, but somehow I was the one who'd made a scene by refusing to accept it quietly. After 20 minutes of shouting, my mother finally left. Her car tires squealed as she pulled away, leaving black marks on my driveway. The messages continued throughout Sunday. Rachel's had moved into full breakdown territory. Please, Catherine, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt Lily. I just reacted badly. Please don't do this to me. I'll lose everything. Several of her sorority sisters called me directly, their voices sugary sweet. Rachel was devastated. Surely I understood she hadn't meant any real harm. Couldn't I see how this was affecting her mental health? What kind of sister would ruin someone's life over an accident? An accident. I repeated to one caller, my voice flat. She threw an object at a child's face hard enough to cause injury. That's not an accident. That's assault. You're being dramatic. I hung up. Monday brought new developments. Rachel's Instagram story showed her crying in her apartment, makeup running artistically down her face. "When your own family abandons you over nothing," read the caption. "Heartbroken and alone." The comments were mostly supportive, condemning me as a heartless sister. A few people asked what happened, and Rachel's responses painted me as unstable and vindictive, someone who'd flown off the handle over a tiny disagreement. She'd blocked Lily from the story, of course. No mention of my injured daughter. No acknowledgement of what she'd actually done. In Rachel's version, she'd simply not liked the gift, and I'd retaliated by destroying her life. My phone rang again. This time it was Aunt Pamela, her voice dripping with false concern. "Catherine dear, your mother told me what happened. I think you might be having some kind of breakdown. Postpartum depression can last for years, you know. Perhaps you should see someone. Lily is 6 years old. That's not how postpartum depression works." Well, some kind of mental issue then. Because a stable person doesn't cut off their sister's college funding over a birthday party misunderstanding. I thought about Lily's bruised face, the blood on her dress, the way she'd cried herself to sleep asking if she was a bad person. A stable person doesn't throw things at children's faces. But I notice you're not concerned about that. Rachel said it barely touched her. You're exaggerating the whole thing to justify your cruelty. I ended the call without responding. Tuesday, I received an email from my father. Unlike my mother's emotional outbursts or Rachel's manipulation, his message was cold and formal. He outlined Rachel's expenses, the financial commitments I'd made, the damage I was doing to her future. He suggested we meet with a family counselor to resolve my issues before I did permanent harm to our relationship. There was no mention of Lily anywhere in the 3-page email. No acknowledgement that she'd been hurt. No suggestion that Rachel bore any responsibility for what happened. I replied with a single sentence. Rachel is an adult who assaulted a child. She can handle the consequences of her actions. By Wednesday, reality was apparently setting in for Rachel. Her apartment rent check bounced. The emergency credit card was declined at every store she tried. The BMW had been ticketed repeatedly for invalid insurance, then finally towed from campus parking when she'd accumulated enough violations. Her voicemail message that evening was different from the others. Smaller, almost genuine. Catherine, I don't know what to do. My landlord is threatening to start eviction proceedings if I can't pay rent. The school put a hold on my account. I tried to get a job, but nobody's hiring this late in the semester. And I don't have a car to get anywhere anyway. Mom and Dad keep saying you'll come around, but you haven't, and I'm starting to think. Her voice cracked. I'm scared. I don't know how to fix this. I'm sorry about Lily. I really am. I wasn't thinking. I just reacted, and I know that's not an excuse. Please, I need help. I listened to the message 3 times, my finger hovering over the call back button. Then I thought about Lily at breakfast that morning, still flinching when people moved too quickly near her face. The way she'd asked if we could stay home from school because she didn't want the other kids to see her bruises. How she'd taken her box of craft supplies and shoved them to the back of her closet because what's the point if everything I make is trash? I deleted the voicemail. Thursday brought my mother again. This time with Aunt Pamela as backup. They cornered me in the parking lot of Lily's school during pickup. Enough is enough, Catherine, my mother said, her voice sharp. Rachel called me crying this morning. She's facing eviction. She has nowhere to go. She can come home to you, I said calmly, keeping my body between them and Lily's classroom door. We can't take her in right now. Your father's mother is living with us temporarily while she recovers from surgery. There's simply no room, and Rachel needs stability to focus on school. Then she'll need to figure something else out, like every other college student who doesn't have someone bankrolling their lifestyle. Aunt Pamela stepped closer, her expression ugly. You've always been jealous of Rachel. She's pretty and popular and you can't stand it. This whole thing is just you punishing her for being everything you're not. Something must have shown on my face because Aunt Pamela took a step back. My mother grabbed her arm, pulling her aside as other parents started to stare. We're family, my mother hissed. Family helps each other. What kind of person lets their sister become homeless? What kind of family? I replied evenly. Tells someone to get lost for defending their injured child? They had no answer to that. I collected Lily and left them standing in the parking lot. Friday night, 1 week after the party, I was reading Lily a bedtime story when my doorbell rang. Through the window I could see Rachel standing on my porch. She looked rough. Her hair was unwashed, her designer clothes wrinkled, and she was carrying 2 suitcases. I opened the door but didn't invite her in. Before you say anything, Rachel started, her voice exhausted. I'm not here to ask for money. I need to understand. Was it really just about the bracelet? Or is this about everything else? All the other times I've messed up and you fixed it. The question surprised me. I'd expected manipulation, tears, anger, not genuine confusion. You hurt my daughter, I said simply. You threw something at her face hard enough to bruise her. And when I objected, our entire family told me to leave because I was ruining your party. That wasn't the first time you've done something cruel, Rachel. It was just the first time you did it to someone I love more than I love the idea of our family. Rachel's face crumpled. I know I've been awful. I know I've taken advantage of you. I thought that's just how things worked. You had money and I needed money, and Mom and Dad said that's what sisters do. I never thought about what I was giving back, or if I was even treating you like a person instead of just an ATM. And Lily, I was showing off for my friends. They're all so perfect, perfect families, perfect lives, and I wanted them to see that I had standards too. That I wasn't just some charity case whose sister paid for everything. When Lily handed me that bracelet, all I could think about was how they'd judge me if I acted like it was something good. She wiped her eyes roughly. I did the worst possible thing. I hurt a little kid to make myself look better. And I can't take it back. I leaned against the doorframe studying my sister. She looked younger than 21 right now, stripped of her makeup and designer armor. Where are you staying? A friend's couch. She's leaving for winter break next week, so I'll need to find somewhere else after that. I dropped out this morning. Withdrew from Stanford completely. I can't afford it without your help, and I'm not going to beg anymore. She laughed bitterly. Mom and Dad are furious. They think I'm throwing away my future to punish them. They don't understand that this is the first real thing I've ever done for myself. What will you do? Rachel shrugged. Get a job, I guess. Save money. Maybe go to community college eventually. Start over somewhere I can actually afford. Learn how to be an actual adult instead of playing dress up with your money. She met my eyes. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I know I destroyed that. I just wanted you to know that I finally get it. You weren't being cruel. You were the first person who ever treated me like my actions had consequences. She picked up her suitcases and started down the porch steps. I watched her reach the sidewalk before I spoke. Rachel. She turned, hope flickering across her face before she suppressed it. I'm not giving you money, I said. And I'm not paying for Stanford or replacing the car. Those consequences are yours to handle. I know. But if you want help finding a job, writing a resume, learning how to budget and manage money like an adult, I'll help with that. Not because I'm your ATM, but because that's what actual family support looks like.